Christian here, and Happy New Year's 2023, even if it is a belated Happy New Year's. Even if it is Friday when I uploaded this, because I did not actually shoot this till 2023. I hope you all had a great 2022. Around the East Coast, it really seemed like this was the year to be a rail fan. There was big events such as 1309's Epic returned, even though it technically returned in 2021, but it kicked off the year with the photo charter, which I attended. 2102 came back, and it ran its first excursions for the first time since 1991. 1309 again completed its runs to Frostburg, and 611 operated at Strasbourg, but I was yet to be found. I answered most of the questions in my 6th-year anniversary video. And quite honestly, I made a post not too long ago talking about the future of my channel, and that's kind of what I'm here to do. This is my annual top 5 best of videos from 2022. I know it doesn't really seem like I had that many videos this year, but I did have enough to do a top 5, which is why I'm doing it right now. 2022 was a great year for me. For those who don't know, my grandma did pass away. That was probably the lowest point this year. But 2022 was really a return to form for me in discovering a lot of things that I forgot that I enjoyed, including video games, going on hikes, going on other adventures. I was monarch of my local grotto chapter, which was shown in the 6th anniversary video, and basically the grotto is a Masonic organization you can belong to. I've gotten involved in stuff like that. Things have been going great this year. The one thing I did miss about this year was my trackside adventures. They were very limited, and even I did not intend on sticking to this strict of a hiatus. I did not get to see 765 at all this year. I missed 6988's last runs. I didn't really do anything this year besides 1309, New York and Lake Erie, a few times out, modern rail fanning, and yeah, that was pretty much my 2022. I'm here to tell you though that in 2023 I do plan on coming back. Not fully, but there's going to be a new norm for the channel. I want to try other videos other than rail fanning. I want to get back to the and other cool stuff because this channel wasn't originally supposed to focus 100% on rail fanning. With that being said, I need a steam fix, and I need to see more steam trains. No, I will not be going to the 1309 excursions next weekend because I do have other commitments that weekend, but I will say it does kind of suck I can't make it because they're running 2 times a day. In that token, I don't ever plan on returning the way I was, having videos every week, but I do want to kind of get back out there. This year I will tell you my plans. I hope to see 765 at Steam in the Valley and at the Indiana Rail Experience this year. I hope to shoot 1309 in the summer and in the fall and in the winter. I'm hoping to actually go to the Reading and Northern and see the 2102 this year. That is on my calendar if possible. And I would like to hopefully believe that 1225 is going to operate this year because obviously that's one of my favorite engines to chase. And if it does, if the wheel work is done and they're ready to go, I will be chasing. But I plan on keeping it limited. I do plan on trying to get back out there and trying to shoot more modern stuff. I plan on focusing on short lines around the area like the New York and Lake Erie, Buffalo Southern, and a few other stuff like that. But I don't ever plan on returning the way I was from 2018 to 2022. That was nuts. It was fun. It was great while it lasted, but my life has branched out into so many other parts now, and like I said, it's going to be an interesting year. So with that being said, you will see Steam again this year. You will hopefully see a little bit more of me, but it's all going to depend. Nothing is set in concrete, and I wait to see what happens. That being said, this video you came here for my top 5 video of 2022. I'm also going to add in my top 5 favorite director's cuts because it's the 5th anniversary of when I started doing director's cuts. So if you'll join me now, we're going to start off with the top 5 videos from 2022. Starting in at number 5 would have to be rail fanning around Western New York 2022 edition. Unfortunately, I wanted this video to be beefier, and I planned multiple times in the summer, fall, and even winter when there was snow to go out and try and get more footage for this, but I didn't. I shot this randomly in January when CSX 911 was leading a westbound, March when Amtrak 100 was leading an interesting Lakeshore Limited with an F40 on it, and May when I went out in honor of my good friend Buffalo photo girl Shannon Belliot, who died this past year to cancer. And in May I caught the CP 8757, the Every Child Matters unit, and the CSX Spirit of the First Responders unit. It was a decent video with some actual cool locations, and I'm hoping to actually get a snow train video this year because I didn't get any snow trains last year. And by the way, while I'm recording this, I want to point out this is the remains of the blizzard that just dropped on us, as well as the remains of the Snowvember storm. This is where they dropped the snow at. Number 4, New York and Lake Erie Railroad, a summer photo charter. So this was my first visit to the New York and Lake Erie Railroad, even though I had been talking about visiting the railroad during Easter trips this year. Yeah. And it had been a while since I had made it down to the classic railroad that both the natural and planes, trains, and automobiles was shot on. Thanks to my friend Toledo Rails, I was able to get a ticket to attend the charter because at that point it just wasn't in the cards, and he wanted to go shoot the line with me. And yeah, instead of riding the train though, we chased it. We rode a few different points, but it was cool getting shots that I have wanted of the line for a long time. Example, I have always wanted to get a train coming across the trestle there, down on the actual creek bed. We were able to get that. I didn't really know that there was that wide open of a space behind the shops. We got that with the photo special. I was able to frame my new truck with the photo special. I caught the train going through South Dayton instead of stopping. I finally got shots at the Cherry Creek Depot, which has been a bucket list shot for me for years. And we shot the train in a field, which I also believe was where a scene of planes, trains, and automobiles was filmed at. It was a great day, rail fanning, and it was almost like a return for me. And because of that, that's actually what set in motion me planning some other adventures this year. My number 3 video would have to be the Welcome Back 1309 Charter, parts 1 and 2. 3 days of action with the one locomotive that we have all been waiting for to make a comeback was a great way to kick off this year. Having a relatively quiet January with not much reason to go out trackside, and having a relatively quiet February, this was a great way to kick off my year. When 1309 debuted in December last year, it only ran to Helmstedter's Curve, so I was able to see locations on the Cumberland to Laval to Helmstedter's Curve side of the line. I really wanted to get some of those classic shots on the way up to Frostburg, and for the first time I was able to actually ride the train, which was pretty cool at nighttime. I met a crew member who was also a crew member on the 1522. That is an experience I'll never forget, chatting with him about the loudest steam engine that operated until 425 and 2102. And we had a night session. We had authentic Western Maryland diesels. And while there were some kinks with 1309 that had to get worked out, no one followed them for it because it was a great show. 1309 put on a fantastic show. Day 1 was hazy until mid-morning. Got some fantastic shots on day 1. Day 2 was also fantastic. We had the infamous issue with one of the leaser authentic Western Maryland diesels, and they had to send 501 for help, and in the meantime we just did every angle possible at Gardner's Meadow. But getting the classic angle at Helmstedter's was fantastic. Shooting Coal Tipple was cool. West Helmstedter's was cool. Getting that famous sunrise glint at the Narrows, shooting City Junction, getting shots at Frostburg, and getting Sunnyside was worth it. It was a fantastic charter. Was a little overcrowded, but that's what happens when you put 100 people on a charter, on a line that wasn't meant to have 100 people on a charter. But great job to Trains Magazine, great job to Western Maryland Scenic, and it was a fantastic way to kick off the year. My number 2 video from this year would have to be York 17 1800 Stealth Winter Photo Special. This was the second charter I ever attended that Carl Franz ran, and just like the first charter, it was fantastic. If you've ever done a Carl Franz charter before, he tries to get you every location possible. There was only a few spots on the line I really wanted. Howard Tunnel and a few other locations. Howard Tunnel's the one that stands out in my mind. The house that was either built in the 1700s or the 1800s, I can never remember. And we hit every location possible on the line to where I never have to go back. Granted, I'm sure I will be back at some point because York 17 is such a neat engine. We had hazy lighting that day, and never in my life did I ever think I would shoot a train from a playground. Yeah, a group of us literally got on a playground for the sunset glint shots, which looked fantastic on York 17. And when I shot that video, I knew I would be going into a hiatus after that. I knew that that was my last adventure for a long time. I thought I'd be back in May for Steam in the Valley after that, but when they announced Steam in the Valley was going to be shortened runs due to a washout. I didn't go. I missed 2102 because of personal health issues with my grandfather, and it was the last holiday I'd spent with my grandmother. So I knew almost that was kind of my grand finale for a while with Steam. My number one video from 2022 shouldn't come as a surprise to any of you. Western Maryland 1309, a Maryland Thunder Fall Flyer, October 2022. After everything pretty much got canceled, from seeing 765 on INER, 2102 on the Return of the Iron Horse Rambles, and everything else, I legitimately did not think I was going to see Steam again. And then I had this last minute rush after a few things happened personally, and I was like, you know what, I'm going back out to see 1309. Because I wanted to hear that New York Central 6 chime that was on the locomotive. And I lucked out. A weekend when I had a Grotto Association meeting I was supposed to go to, the weekend of the 14th, I trekked down there on a Friday to get the basic shots on a beautifully sunny day and to hear that New York Central 6 chime, which sounded fantastic. Finally being able to get the departure shot, Helmstedter's Curve, Trimble Lane, which is bucket list material for myself, and getting a shot of the Frostburg Station because I do love classic depots. That was a great way to kick off the chase. And then the next weekend I went back down, ran into Train Wizard, Keeper of Steam, and BTC 101 Film Productions. And that's when I shot the second half of the video, and I just was able to get so many classic shots. Woodcock Hollow, City Junction, Parkersburg Road, and the tunnel, which unfortunately didn't turn out as well as what I wanted to, but I knew going into it was going to be a pain because of how backlit it was. This video, I think, so far was the best I've heard 1309 work. The October Fall Flyer was the video I'd been wanting to shoot all year with the 1309. And it came out fantastically. It was a great weekend with friends, and I'll definitely be seeing 1309 later this year. Director's cuts. The first time I edited a director's cut, I had the idea in the 2018 review of 2017 season. And I believe the first director's cut video I did was of the Paramark Hat 1225 at the Howell Melon Fest, followed by the Southern 630 and the Southern 4501 on the Missionary Ridge Local, and then a few of the Viscousse Company 6. That was my first ever experience with director's cuts, and ever since then, in my personal opinion, it's become a staple of my channel to edit these videos in a way I don't typically edit. A lot of people, when they take their train videos, they try to edit in chronological order of where they caught the train if they shot it over the course of a day, especially if trains run like they do at Strasburg, Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum, where you've really got a 1 to 2 shot chase ratio. And of the 1309 if they spend a few days shooting down there. I, on the other hand, like to show the viewers what you can actually do in a chase, and I like to show that raw, almost bootleg 70s style concert, which is how I've always shot my videos. So when I do this, I like to have fun, and I try to make that cinematic feel of the opening is actually the train departing the station wherever it's going to be. So my top 5 favorite director's cuts. This is going to be fun. My number 5 on the director's cuts list would have to be the Viscousse Company 6 Santa Trains 2018. When I initially released the video, that is still to date the longest video I've ever uploaded. I try to stay within the hour chime limit when I upload videos, because I know people's attention spans, aren't going to want to watch over an hour of trains, but definitely when I do the best of videos, I typically go an hour and a half. When I have all the footage and I cut it down the best I could to show all the train action of the Viscousse Company 6 from the Santa Trains in 2018, and wanting to keep it one singular video because I only chased 2 runs the one weekend when we had no snow, it was an hour and 45 minutes. And I was disappointed because that was actually probably still, that and the Veterans Day excursions of 2018 were my favorite Viscousse 6 videos I've shot. And this was the last time we got to see the Viscousse Company 6 run on Santa Trains and in the winter on the Buffalo Cattaraugus Jamestown Scenic Railroad, which is a shame in my opinion that they don't use the 6 more anymore, because it was a big draw. But being able to do my director's cut spin on it, I was able to chronologically, like I do with all these, put it into order. It flowed a lot better. You got to hear more of the 611 whistle. I tried to exclusively only use shots that featured the replica 611 whistle, and it really turned out great. My number 4 would have to be the Grand Canyon Railway 29 the last runs for now. This was a director's cut I didn't initially plan on doing until the pandemic, and I decided to do some last minute director's cuts, and it was actually during this director's cuts of the season that I started actually experimenting with director's cuts a little bit more, adding concepts that were different than the typical what you've seen. And it was this director's cut that was the last one I made for that season that showed the Grand Canyon Railway 29 chronologically from Williams to the Grand Canyon. Well, as you know, I didn't chase, I rode, I had a ticket, and it was still probably my favorite photo charter, but it was kind of a mess because there's a lot more southbound shots than there was northbound shots. But you know what, for what it was, it really turned out great and I loved it. My number 3 would have to be the Norfolk and Western 611 2021 season director's cut from Paradise. From chasing 2 weekends of 611 in June and July last year, combining all together the best shots with ride footage, this was one of my favorite director's cuts solely for the fact that I was really proud of the camera work and everything involved in the 611. Pretty much showing almost every angle possible at Strasburg of the 611. It was great to make this video, and it was great to be able to showcase the 611 in Paradise again. My number 2 would be the Southern 630 Missionary Ridge Express from 2021. Again, 2 weekends of 630 excursion footage. One in the spring, one in the summer, almost as backwards as my Norfolk and Western 475 video from last year. The shots don't really match up, but who cares, because chronologically you get to see every shot from Grand Junction to East Chattanooga and return. Every angle I possibly got of the 630 last year. It was a bummer not going to Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum last year, and it's probably not going to be in the cards again this year, but hey, there's always the future, and I always look forward to returning. But yeah, that was one of my favorite director's cuts. And the number 1 is the Nickel Plate Road 765 Steam in the Valley director's cut from last year. Piecing together all the shots I had from Steam in the Valley in 2021 and putting it all together from my Ultra video to this was really cool. Showcasing all of my favorite shots, the engine that got me into the actual rail fanning side of the hobby instead of just watching YouTube videos. It was great chasing 765, and it was great seeing 765 stretch your legs. It was even better putting it together in chronological order. With that being said, like I said at the start of this video, I don't know when I'll see Steam again. I'm hoping May will be the first Steam month this year. It'll almost be, like I said, very 2017-ish vibes, kind of more like last year. There will be periods of no videos. Next week will be the Best of Rail Fanning 2022 edition, and then after that, I've got my Western Maryland Scenic Railroad Memories video, my Western Maryland 1309 Director's Cut, and after that, I'll return when I return. You can this year expect me to see 765, 1309, hopefully 2102, and 1225. With that, I'm Christian. It was a great year 2022, and I look forward to a great 2023.